This presentation is on developing great setters. I believe that we can do more in the United States to develop great setters, more to make the setters technically proficient, more to make their position athletic, to let them be creative, and to let them be deceptive, and to use their position to win. Here, let's start off by looking at some elements that go into making the position technically sound. Starting off with the setter facing where the ball is coming from so that she can move in any direction to receive the ball. Here this ball gets to the setter low, so she drops her hips. She rotates herself into the ball, so on contact she is either square or just short of square to the left front target. The right knee is softly flexed. Weight transfers into the ball, keeping the right knee flexed. Again, we'll see the setter facing where the ball is coming from, and here you can see her really loading her hips. This is going to allow her to be able to move in any direction as the ball comes off the passer's arms. Here she leaves the ground open, rotates herself square in the air, and then delivers a dump. Looking at some other technical elements, here we're going to be looking at a professional setter from Japan, and you're going to see her as she goes into this jump set getting into what we're going to call as an unloaded position with her wrists and arms. So she's not fully extended, but she's very extended with her hands, wrists, and elbows. You can see the markings here for the degree angle that she has as she's getting ready to receive the ball, and then how the angle changes in the hands, wrists, and elbows as she receives the ball, and then makes her delivery out. On the set. I think this unloaded position here that the setter exhibits helps prepare the muscles to be really dynamic and really quick as she goes in to receive the ball. So again, you'll see she goes up in this unloaded position, arms and hands and wrists almost totally extended. And then the closer the ball gets to her, the angles change in her hands and wrists and elbows. And then she delivers the ball out. This is a technique that I really like. I think it helps the delivery of the ball be very quick. I think it helps the delivery of the ball be very deceptive. And because the muscles in the arms and hands are unloaded as the setter waits to receive the setting motion will be a lot more athletic, quick, and dynamic. So here's a few more shots of this setter using this technique. Again, open to the pass or dig, rotating herself into the ball, being unloaded, and then loading and delivering the set. And you can see in these examples that the setter will use the same technique and deliver sets to any area of the court. I think a lot of times younger setters have a hard time getting enough power into the ball, and I think going into this unloaded position, like you'll see here, helps generate more power, And you'll see the setter start to load down there and then deliver the ball out. So I think it helps with generation of power into the ball, as well as making the set deceptive. Again, you'll see the setter facing, hips loaded. Now as the ball comes to her, rotating, unloading, and then loading quickly there in the hands, wrists, and arms, and delivering the set. Facing where the ball's coming from, loading her hips, going up to the ball, unloading her hands and arms, and then delivering a different set. So it's a technique that can be used with any delivery of set. Here we're going to take a look at a skill drill. Here we've got a tosser standing behind the setter turning 180 degrees and just delivering sets to different areas of the court. I like this as a beginning drill for setters because it helps them learn the ability to position themselves on the court and still keep the left and right side targets kind of in their range or awareness of where they are. So just by making this drill, a little simple drill like this, we're really challenging the setter athletically as well as challenging her ability to locate the different antenna sets. And I think it's important once setters start to establish some mastery of some of the technique that we start to challenge them in drills. And this looks very simple, but this is very challenging drill to do with accuracy. We're taking the same drill now and making it even more athletically challenging, asking the setter to jump in the air and rotate her body all the way around and then deliver sets into the targets on either antenna. I think by athletically challenging your setters, you make practice exciting, engaging for them, and very challenging for them. So she has to keep her technique solid at the same time she's trying to do this very athletic move. Here, the setter is trying to delay her turn into the ball, even challenging her technique and her control of the ball even more. And I think putting our setters in these challenging situations, we're going to get more out of them out of practice, and we're also going to help them control their body and control the ball in more extreme positions. And here's an example. We were just tossing from behind the setter, and here's some examples of balls in actual match play that get very similar there. They get very behind the setter. She has to rotate into the ball and still have awareness of where she is on the court and then deliver sets accurately. So the other thing I like about the previous drill is that it's putting setters close to a position that they're actually going to be in games. Now the ball gets behind her. She's able to come in, enter the ball, rotate around, and this time deliver a different set. Another ball gets behind her. Back is flat to the net, and then she's going to rotate into the ball, delivering a set. So it's a very simple drill that we saw, but you can see that the situation happens in real life play, and by having the setter in that drill, she's very comfortable receiving balls that are behind her or off to her left. Again, this ball gets well behind her, She's able to keep her her relationship on the court and able to deliver a nice set there. Here we have a flat top Bosu ball on a little landing pad, and we've got our setters repetitively jump setting. I like using the flat top Bosu ball because it gets our setters a little higher in the air and it doesn't tax their legs, so they can jump repetitively. And by being in the air a little bit longer than they would on a normal jump, it helps them learn how to control their body in the air. In this situation, we can work on one-handed sets, different first tempo sets. We can work on the setters setting the ball at the top of their jump, or delaying and setting the ball actually on the way down. Again, all these things making the drill situation a lot more challenging for the setter. But by making it challenging, we're challenging their athletic ability, and by challenging their athletic ability, we're challenging their technique and control of the ball. So I like this whole kind of series, very engaging for the setters, and by putting them in the air repetitively, it's going to get them used to jump setting, and then by jumping slightly forward in this instance, they're going to be challenged to control especially the sets that are going to be behind them. I think our challenge too is to make drills that will put setters into similar situations that they'll see in live play. And as you can see, as you'll see here in a minute, this motion of leaving the ground and moving slightly forward is something that does happen in live play. Obviously, you can also work on dumping in those examples. So here's a live play situation where our setter is going to leave the ground. She's moving slightly forward in the air. And then a technique that I particularly like is you can see how her torso with the yellow line is slightly angled back, and this will allow the back set to be available to her all the time, and obviously gives a look to the blockers in the back row that she can back set this ball. And this is just a style that I like. Again, it's got a lot to do with helping our setters be deceptive by using the techniques and styles that we choose to use with them. Here's that same play in regular speed. Here's another ball that takes her forward. You can see her rotating into it. You can see her torso position right there, being slightly leaned back, taking the ball in a real similar position as she did on the front set, and now delivering the back set. Here she is moving forward, delivering the back set. Again, leaving the ground, moving forward just like we were doing in the drill. Again, a style technique that I like is having this torso position slightly open, so the back set's always open to the setter. So the defense has to honor that. And there she goes, delivering the back set. So in the drill we were doing, the setter was jumping and moving forward, and in all these examples in live play, she is also jumping and moving forward. You can see her rotating into the ball with her torso slightly tilted back taking the ball in almost exactly the same position each time, but delivering different sets each time. In this next drill, now the setters will be taking off the flat top Bosu ball and jumping slightly back while they're rotating into the ball. And we practice on delivering all the different sets here. Sets with the flow in the direction that they're jumping, as well as sets against the flow. And by challenging their athleticism, I think that we're putting really productive pressure on the maintenance of their technique, their hand position, their delivery technique, their body position, and teaching them how to be open to the pass or dig, and then rotating into the ball. So on contact, they're very close to, if not square, to the target. Again, it's an athletic move, challenging the athleticism, challenging the technique of the setters, and then we also are trying to create situations in a drill like this where if the setter's ever in a position like this in a game where she's moving and or jumping and slightly traveling towards the right side zone, she's used to being in that situation. And now we've got a couple of examples of this where the setter's moving back. We've marked on the floor where she leaves the ground. So you can see she is moving and traveling back. The second X shows how much or where she lands, so you can see the distance that she actually traveled in the air, and then delivers the back set. I think being in drills that mimic game moves is an important thing to help setters take situations like this and be effective. Another situation where she's going to leave the ground with the first green X, traveling slightly back. And you can see the second green mark and the distance that she traveled and the set she delivered. Another example, moving back, setting a different ball. In this next drill, we're having the setter alternate perfect type passes and then moving the setter in a certain direction on the floor. And this is a highly skilled setter here, so she's going to be working on making different kinds of moves into the ball. Some will be shuffle turns, some will be 1 foot takeoff, rotating into the ball. At this point, she's mastered a lot of the techniques, and now she is trying to utilize different techniques as she goes and receives and sets the ball. And I think this is a really important element to do with setters in their training once they have mastered certain elements of body position and delivery. We've got to be putting them in more and more challenging situations. Here the setter leaves the ground. She's moving on a diagonal off the net, rotating herself into the ball, and then finding her middle hitter and connecting with her. I believe, we always tell hitters to go for shots, and I think that we should be encouraging our setters to go for sets. Just as well as hitters can put teams in trouble, and they can make scoring opportunities, so can setters, I think. And here you can see this setter basically faking like she's going to back set the ball with her body position. And then delivering a front set. And I think this kind of creativity is an important element for our players to get in every other sport they're playing, whether it's basketball or any kind of one-on-one kind of movement. Players are trying to put themselves or their team in an advantage. Football, basketball, and here you can see the setter again showing that she can backset from that position, the reaction of the middle blocker, and then she delivers a front set. I think we can be doing the same thing in volleyball that our players are experiencing in other sports, where they're trying to fake people out. They're trying to do things that create an advantage for themselves or their team. I think it's what's fun about other sports, and I think it should be more recognized in our sport and more encouraged in our sport. This is a really tough move here, really hard set, but also an effective set. So by getting our setters to master technique and then putting them in situations that are always challenging their athleticism and encouraging them to be creative, I think that we can create setters that are very creative and deceptive, that utilize their athleticism to play their position and create advantage situations for their teams. Another really athletic, challenging move there. Setter's going away from the net at a forward diagonal and delivering a back set. Again, like I said earlier, we challenge hitters to go for hits. I think we should challenge setters to go for sets. I think it'll make our game more exciting, make it more challenging, make it more inviting for everyone, players and fans. Having the ability to set with range like this is an important element in the sport of volleyball. Setters moving in directions and then setting away from the direction that they're moving. Very tough skill challenge. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of repetition. Setters can be a great advantage to any team if they're trained well and developed well. These two sets were really, really tough sets because of where the ball took the setter. And she was going to try and make plays on these sets, and I really encourage that. And then I think trying to get setters, encouraging them to be creative, like this move here. I think that once our setters have mastered some of the technique of the skill of the position, then trying to use their techniques to create advantages is an important element. Here we've got some training footage of the Front Range 12-1 setters, and I think that all these kinds of drills are good. Multiple repetitions with the hands while the body is moving, doing some light conditioning work. All these things are going to challenge younger setters. I don't necessarily think that there are drills that you have to do. I think that when you're looking at drills, you need to be looking at how to challenge the setters technically, how to challenge them athletically. So here in this situation, we have a high rep drill here where the setters are receiving one perfect toss and then having to move off the net in the same direction over and over. So they're learning how to move in these different directions and control their bodies and maintain their technique and control the ball. Repetition is critical with setters at every level, I think, and as coaches, guiding this repetition so that we're developing good mechanical habits, challenging their athleticism, and forcing them to be accurate are all important things. So here we've got the 12-1 setters in a little figure 8 drill coming from different elbows and then having to set either the left side set or the right side set. They're having to move quickly, they're having to shape their body up, they're having to control a bunch of things here, their feet, their rotation of their body into the ball, their delivery. All these things are challenging at every level, and they're not always going to be successful at it, but I think encouraging them to be athletic, to be quick, to know where they are on the court, to know where their targets are on the court, is going to help them develop over time. So I like drills that are athletically challenging for setters at every level. Of course, you have to mix in drills where the setters can really grind in, really rep the technique so that the technique of delivery, of body position, of hip position, of weight transfer, where they can really repeat these moves over and over and over. And then, as the setters are working on that, you're adding in these really athletic drills to challenge their athleticism and to try and get them to maintain their technique while they're moving in different directions, quickly off the net, along the net, back away from the left side target, away from the right side target. So any drills that you can do like this, I think, are going to be, in the long run, very good for your setters.